Hi everyone, welcome to Prompt 2. First, I'll share about the importance of reflection. I feel as though all teachers reflect, whether reflecting on our day or on our practices and how we know the lesson or how we can make it better next time. The way I use reflection is by examining my students' prior knowledge. I take account their interests and the desired outcomes I would like for the lesson to effectively plan for upcoming lessons. I also use background knowledge and my previous experiences to inform my growth. I honestly feel as though every group of students I've taught has taught me um, something new about how students learn and how they need to succeed. And continuing to reflect on these experiences help me continually to improve and plan lessons that are better and serve all my students. So my first year teaching, I taught a lesson that focused on understanding place value by adding and subtracting 10 and 100 to any given number. The goal was for students to use their understanding of place value skip counting to find 10 more, 10 less, 100 more, and 100 less from any given number. I feel as though I was fairly successful in addressing all learners within this lesson. Touching on that again, yes, very successful. I incorporated some hands-on learning that helps students understand the concept more effectively. And I also incorporated some movement-based strategies. I do feel as though one strategy worked better than the other to some extent. What strategies work and did not work within the lesson in my instructional time. So using hands-on learning like manipulatives and an open number line help my students with skip counting. Some students need to actually work with place value blocks to see the difference in changes. The movement strategy, having students grow and shrink to help with skip counting, it didn't work as well as I hoped. Some of my students were distracted and reviewed it more as playtime rather than a time to use it as a tool to support their understanding of the content. How did your strategies for integration work within this lesson? What changes would you make to ensure multiple content areas were covered more successfully? I did a little bit of integration. I had my students do a turn and talk to explain their thinking in a couple of sentences, which connect math to literacy. I could have made the problems more relatable by creating real world problems, and I could have also had students write down their thinking to show how they work through the problems, to develop their writing skills. What was successful in this lesson? How did it vary from our previous lesson? When I retaught this lesson, I feel as though my reteach went well. Majority, if not all, my students were engaged and followed directions. I feel compared to my last lesson, the last time I taught this, this one was more organized and more focused, which helped make it easier for my students to stay engaged and grasp the concept. How prevalent was cultural diversity and community engagement within your plan and presentation? Were you successful? Explain how you determined that success. In terms of cultural diversity and community engagement, I did make sure to did make sure, my classroom feels as though, it's accepting, it's inclusive. All of my students had a chance to participate. I feel as though I could have utilized my equity sticks more. And I feel as though I could have included more real world examples. What level of student engagement exists in both iterations, and how might you continue to alter this for future classes? So my edit ticket data show that out of 18 kids, 15 of my students mastered that concept, so that's like 86% of the class, and finding 10 more or 10 more, 10 less, 100 more, 100 less than any given number. Honestly, I'll continue to alter this lesson. Every group of kids is different, and try to make it more relatable and incorporate more manipulatives. Were there changes in student engagement? Did student learning change as a result of this revised lesson? Yes, I would say so. My students took the skip counting game more seriously, the growing and stringing game, which I feel helped with them being able to use that skill later, when needed to understand the concept. And then a lot of my students, they were able to grab this concept faster than when I taught this, my first time, my first year teaching. So yeah, I feel like it was better. Provide summary of the entire class learning experience. Identify two successful or struggling students during this lesson and explain how you could better meet their needs. This may be cultural inclusions, maybe assessment strategies, maybe lack of interest, or even ways you could extend the learning. So I talked about both. So I did have a few students that were eager to participate, share out their answers. They were eager to help out their classmates. I feel as though I challenged them further. I could have maybe had them lead the lesson more a little bit. And show example problems on the board instead of myself. And then I also did have students who were a bit disengaged and needed extra support. And to further support them, I could offer them small group instruction and create more opportunities for them to be actively engaged within lessons. Analyze student work samples and determine ways you can make learning more integrated and inclusive for diverse learners. So looking at my student work, I saw that some students understood how to find numbers that were 10 or 100 more or less than any given number, while others did get confused with the place value and mixed up, trying to figure out if they had to add or subtract, either 10 or 100. So to make learning more inclusive, I could use more, have more visuals and manipulatives readily, like base 10 blocks, and then give them supportive language like more than, less than, maybe bolded. All right, here's my reteach video. All right, to start, let's And then here are some artifacts of students who grasp the concept. Again, I said maybe I could have bolded that more than and less than. But yeah, these were two successful students. I even had them just go around, explain their thinking to integrate that writing skill on how they knew, like, the answer to problem one was correct. And then these were two students who could benefit from some small group instruction to help them better understand this concept of adding 10 more or 10 less, 100 more or 100 less to any given number. So this student, the first one on the left, so she was correct. So she knew, her target, the target number for her was 877, and she knew 10 less was 867, and 10 more was 897. Well, no. Yeah, she was kind of correct. But you see how, she was almost there, but she had some misconceptions, so I would have to go back with her and look at place value. And then my student on the right, just go back over it, all of it and just see like where their misconception lies. So again, small group instruction would benefit these two students.